Well, Time magazine calls him, quote, the Babe Ruth of popular literature, hitting the ball out of the park every time he's at bat. His novel, Tuesdays with Morrie, is the best-selling memoir of all time, and he has a new novel he's releasing on November 14th.
Yep. And award-winning journalist and best-selling author Mitch Albom has a new book called The Little Liar. And he joins us live in studio to talk about the release this morning. So let's start with the obvious. Tell us about this story.
Well, The Little Liar is something I've been working on actually over 10 years. It's a story set during World War II, but it's a story about hope in the most hopeless of times. It's a family story and a love story, and it's a story about truth and lying. A little boy is tricked into lying on behalf of the Nazis, and he doesn't even realize what he's doing. He's on the train tracks, and they tell him, tell everybody it's safe, get on the trains, we're going to new jobs and new homes, and only when they put his own family on the trains does he realize he's been lying. And it's the consequence of what happens to him and his family over the years and how they come to try to forgive him for what he thinks that he has done.
You say you've been working on this for about a decade now. What was the inspiration that kind of sparked the idea to write this?
Well, I heard a video at a museum once about how the Nazis actually used Jewish people to lie to other Jewish people to try to get them to board these trains going to the concentration camps, because if they knew where they were going, why would they get on? And I just thought that that was so cruel, and what does that do to people when you force them to lie to their own people? And, you know, we live in a time where truth is a chosen quality. You know, we all seem to be choosing our own truth, and I thought, well, this is probably a story that should be told. Also, I grew up in a neighborhood where there were Jewish people who had survived the Holocaust, and they used to wear sweaters covering their wrists and their arms. And I remember as a kid saying to my mother, why are they always wearing long sleeves in the summertime? And she said, well, they have numbers on their wrists and they don't want people to see. And I said, why don't they want people to see? And she said, well, they don't want to be reminded of it. Well, now those people are pretty much gone. And if we don't tell this story in some forms like this, I'm afraid that story might be gone too.
So obviously this is set in a specific time period in history, and you also said that you've been working on this for 10 years, but it's so relevant right now at this specific time in history. It mirrors a lot of what's going on.
Yeah. Well, we do live in a world where we kind of choose our own truths, right? We watch our own cable news, and that's the view of the world that we have, you know. Well, you know, back then, that's exactly what happened too to the people in Germany. They were told a certain thing, their leaders told them a certain thing, and they believed it, and these lies just perpetuated. So truth is a very precious commodity. We need to protect it.
Absolutely. Now, your books have sold more than 40 million copies. That's how many have been sold worldwide. When you think about that number, have you ever wrapped your mind around that number?
In fact, even to hear you say that stuns me. I don't even know what that number means. It's a lot.
But what is it like when you meet people who have read your books? You said that this is your 11th one.
The weirdest thing is to see books like in Polish or Chinese or whatever, and they say, well, this is your book. And I say, I don't even recognize my name on it. So I think that's the strangest thing, is the international element of it.
But how big is it whenever you hear people, you say what those numbers mean, but what those stories mean to them when they come up to you?
Well, what means the most is when we sat down just beforehand and someone like yourself says, I read Tuesdays with Morrie and it changed my life. That's all an author could ever ask for, and I hope The Little Liar does the same thing.
Tell us a little bit about the process, your specific process. You did mention that this book took 10 years to write, but what is your process, sort of methodical?
Yeah, it's pretty boring. I get up really early, start without any outside influence, no music, no news, no anything, so my brain is clear. I go for about 3 hours, and that's it. That's all I have in the tank, and then I get up and do it all again. But I always try to quit when it's going well, so that I'll look forward to getting up in the morning to returning to it. Because if you quit when it's going badly, and then you get up in the morning, it's like, I think I'll go back to bed. So, you know, that's probably the biggest little trick I've learned over the years.
Staying in a good mindset.
Staying in a good groove, yeah.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. The book is The Little Liar. It's available wherever books are sold on November 14th. But Mitch, we have to ask you, your dedication to sports, the Lions coming up, big game this weekend against the Chargers. What have you thought of their start to the season and where they could go this year?
I'm about to go on this national tour, and everyone keeps asking me about the Lions. And I said, Detroit fans now are like Cinderella with 10 dresses. We don't know what to do with this success. I think they can go to the NFC Championship game. So, hopefully it continues with this week.
Staying in a positive mind state. Gotta love it. Mitch, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to see you guys.
I agree, too.